Good day and welcome to another build guide. Storm Cold, but it's better. Absolution of Inspiring. This build has versatility in both offense and defense aspects, and it's one of my favorite builds this league. So, let's get into the PoE and let's see what we have. Alright, so as you can see, I'm playing an Elementalist. Why Elementalist? Because you can play as something called a Golemancer. That's for new players. So I have this point and I summon golems, because golems grant me a lot of things. There are three aspects to this build though. The golems themselves, the increased minion damage, and the levels to the gem. Let's tackle each and every one of them on our own, and let's start with the golems. The golems I'm getting this point here, which is League of the Primordial. It gives me +2 maximum golems, it gives me increase of buffs to golems, and it gives me golems that are summoned, resummoned 4 seconds after they die. This is the most amazing line they added to the game. I played the Golemancer before they added this line, it was hell. But this, amazing. Anyway, so 2 golems from here, 1 golem from here, and a lot of other aspects. So we have a lot of golems. What else? We are using this helmet, the Dark Monarch. It doubles the amount of golems that we can summon. But you can't have any other thing other than the golem. So you can't have Animate Guardian, for example. I've tested the damage with Animate Guardian versus with the double golems. It's better with the double golems, in my opinion, at least. So that's the second aspect. I have double the amount of golems. Now the third aspect, which is the cluster jewels. These cluster jewels give me this notable, which is called Primordial Bond, which gives me 10% increased damage per summoned golem. And I have 2 of those. So let's see how many golems we have. We have 12. 12 golems that we summon by 20% increased damage is 240% increased damage. That's a lot of damage. Oh, that's a good joke that I missed. Anyway, other than that, we have the increased effective buffs. So increased effective buffs granted by your golem, 20%, 20%, 40%, which is 80% here, 40% here, 40%, another 80%, and 100% here. So in total, 260% increased effect. So what buffs are we getting? We're getting crit chance, accuracy, life, defenses, chaos resistance. This used to be physical damage mitigation. They changed that. I'm very sad about it. This would have been the tankiest build ever, but chaos resistance is good as well. I'm capped in chaos res because of this. Anyway, chaos res, damage over time, attack and cast speed, mana regen, increased damage, which is amazing, 30% increased damage, which scales up to, I think, 90 something, and increased area, which also scales up to, I think, 70 something. Anyway, golems grant for 15% of melee damage taken from your stone golem before you, so 15% of the damage is taken from the golem before me. Where does this scale up with the 260% efficiency? It gets me 54%. 54% of the melee damage from hits that I get is taken from the golem before me, so this is very defensive. In general, a lot of defenses, a lot of offense, a lot of buffs that I get from the golems. So this is the golem aspect. It's amazing. It's perfect. All right. So what's the second aspect? Let's go first with the gem level. So this gem right here, as any spell in the game, scales with gem levels. The more gem levels that I add to the gem, the better damage it has, the better flat damage it has, so it scales up even more with the increased damage. So I get +10, I got a level 21 gem and I added +10 to it, so I have in total level 31 gem, as you can see from here. 31, alright. So how did I get all that? So I got +1 from the wand, another +1 from the shield. You can actually get a wand with +2. I just didn't bother to spend that much money on the build. You can actually have 2 wands with +2, which is better, but I tried to be a little bit more defensive and I actually like shield charge, so I'm using shield. Anyway, +1 from the helmet, +3 from the amulet, the dragon fang, and +4 from the body. It's so easy to scale the levels of this gem because this gem has spell, minion, duration, physical, lightning, AoE. Anything that scales levels for any of these tags will scale the levels of the gem. It's amazing. Gem also converts 50% of the physical damage to lightning, and we use the physical to lightning to convert the rest. Spell Echo is not important here at all, but I like it. Spell Cascade is very important, because with Spell Cascade, if the boss is large enough, it actually can get hit twice with the same cost. Because, as you can see, let me show you. You cast all over the place with Spell Cascade. So if a boss, let's say, standing instead of this guy right here, if you can actually do this, so he should be getting hit two times at least right now. Anyway, so that's the aspect of the levels. So you get into, I'm getting in total plus 10 levels. You can technically get plus 12 if you get a plus 2 wand in both of your hands. The rest of the gear, let's go through the gear real quick here. The rest of the gear is just increased life, minion damage as much as possible. If you can find minion damage, you do it. If you don't, it's fine. You scale minion damage from other places. But let me tell you now why minion damage. So, in the skill, let me read that line for you. Increases and reductions to minion damage also apply to this skill damage at 300% of their value. So basically, any increases to minion damage applies to this as 300%. So let's say we have 10% increased minion damage. So it applies to this skill damage at 30% instead. You can scale this up with more quantity, but I got 2120. If I got 23, I would just scale up to 307, which is not that much. That 7% didn't bother me at all. So yeah. 300% of the value of any increased minion damage. That's why any gear piece that we can get minion damage on, do it. The other thing that I did, I'm using this cluster jewel. Sorry, timeless jewel. This timeless jewel, elegant hubris, doesn't matter which conqueror, supreme ostentatious, supreme grandstanding, whatever, doesn't matter. I'm not taking the keystone anyway. I'm more looking into slumlord. This keystone, this notable, sorry, is very, very, very important. Gives you 80% increased damage. That's a lot of damage. We'll calculate the full minion damage that I have right now in the build in a second, but each one of these will give you 80%. As you can see, it's 2 million damage right now. If I remove this, 2 million damage almost. 1.9. Anyway. I also got one with 80% increased crit here and 80% increased crit here because I am a crazy person and I want 100% crit. You don't need to do that. You can basically go with 96% crit and that's fine. I did a lot of things to get my crit chance to 100% for no reason, but I just like my crit chance to be 100% anyway. You can also get more than just 3. You can get 4, you can get 5, you can get 6, you can get 7 if you're lucky. I wasn't this lucky and it's really expensive to get more than 3, so I just opted to get those 3 with the crit chance because I wanted to. So yeah, I'm using, as you can see, Impossible Escape to be able to actually allocate these points without having to take the previous points. But before I got the Impossible Escape, I had the points. It's fine. You just drop one of the cluster jewels and get the points. As well as the increased damage from the cluster jewels. The cluster jewels give you, by default, 10% increased damage per passive. I get 12 passive skills jewel with the primordial bond as its only thing and at least 35% increased effect. Let me tell you why. So by default, it gives 10% increased damage, but with the 35% increased, it gives 13% increased minion damage, meaning deal 13% increased damage with each notable. So as many notables as you can. And it's better to get all of them. So, with that being said, I'm also crit. I'm 100% crit because I like it, and I have as much crit multi as I can for 562 right now. Because my jewels are not the best. You should get better jewel. Most like, let's say a jewel with crit multi with lightning and crit multi as well would be better than this one. But I just got whatever was the cheapest in the market at the time. I got as much crit chance and crit multi on the tree as well. And my life is not It's not that much. I just got increases from the tree like 85%. It's not that it's not that much. It's not that bad as well. And as many minion damage as possible. With that being said, there is another trick that I'm using here, which is very important for you to notice. My Merc. My Merc is using Doryani's prototype. If you don't know what it is, basically any enemy that gets close to the mercenary will have the mercenary lightning resistance. And I have all the jewels that the mercenary has, they have minus to the lightning resistance. So with that, let me show you here. The minus resistance that I have on my current mercenary is minus 144 lightning resistance, which applies to anything that gets near him because of the Doryani's prototype. He also has this amulet right here, which nearby allies damage with hits are lucky, and I am considered a nearby ally to him. That's why he's the one wearing this. So any hits that I do with this is lucky. The tooltip is 4 million, by the way. Anyway, I just noticed. Anyway, and as I said, the jewelry has minus 84, minus 90, just some life on the others. I'm using this to have increased area of effect. Basically, the more increased area, the better this will apply to bosses, to enemies in the maps and all that. And the Vol's vision for the increased life for the guy. I just want the guy to survive a little bit. At least a little bit. Anyway. So yeah, in general, this setup is very important because as you can see, let me show you here in the configuration. If we remove that, we lose a lot of damage. Oh, right, hold on. Current gear. We lose a lot of damage. That negative 120 gives us a boost to damage that nothing else can give. And obviously I've added the stuff that I'm getting from the Merc here, like the nearby enemy convert 25% because of the Counts binding, because that's very defensive for me, and the aura that I'm getting, which is the additional armor, which is not that important, and I added also the amulet, your damage from hits is lucky. Yeah. So with that being said, that is the setup that I'm using. Also, for defenses, I'm using Storm Shroud with this boot for, I think, 80 something percent shock avoidance, and this for the rest of the shock avoidance to be 100% shock avoidance. Here we go. Yeah. And because I'm 100% shock avoidance and I'm using the jewel, I'm avoiding everything else as well. And let's see now how much increased minion damage we have. We have 711, so let's calculate that. 711 at 300% its value. So 711 by 3 is 2,100. Let me actually do. Yeah, 2,133. Okay. So yeah, that's a lot of increased damage that you can get just by adding increased minion damage. The 10% gives you 30. So the more minion damage you get, the more damage you get here. Also, what I'm using... Oh, Zealotry. Why am I still using Zealotry here? I changed Zealotry with Haste a long time ago. So yeah, I'm using Haste for more movement speed instead of Zealotry because... Again, after I remove Zealotry, as you can see, my crit chance is still 100%, so I don't need it anymore. So anyway, I'm using Herald of Purity, Haste, and I'm using Righteous Fire of Arcane Devotion. Why? Because it doesn't really damage you that much, because it deals 70% of your maximum mana as base fire instead of the 70% of your life. And my mana is much less than my life because I don't use mana, I didn't scale mana at all. And at the same time, it gives you more cast speed. And I was trying as much as possible to get over the 6 casts per second margin, which I did because of this. Without this, I think I'm 5 point something. Yeah, 5.1 without the Righteous Fire. But with the Righteous Fire, I am beyond 6 casts per second, which is amazing. So yeah, that's the entirety of the build. I'm using Arcanist Brand with conductivity just for the extra lightning res reduction on the enemy and shock effect. Just against bosses, you don't really have to use it, but I use it most of the time. I'm using the Summon Carrying Golem of Hordes so I can get more golems, because you can this has maximum 3 summon golems by default, so you can have 6 of those instead of having 2. And having 2 of each one, I prefer having 6 of those because they're just fodder. That's why I have meat shield with them as well. I'm using precision for more accuracy and more crit chance. I don't think I need it anymore. Yeah, I should remove it. I will. I'm using vitality for some life regen. I should have better vitality as well. And that's it. That's pretty much it. I wanted to talk about the pros and cons of this build. The pros, in my opinion, this has an A plus or an A on damage, a C in defenses because I did not scale defenses that much, a B plus in bosses. Bosses are not amazing but not bad as well. You can kill bosses pretty easily, but most of the bosses would have stuff that would kill you. That's why I said it's C on defenses. And in clear speed it will be a C plus. It's not the fastest clear, but it's very smooth. You barely feel anything when you're mapping. The cons for this is the blinding light. Let me explain. So I'm a colorblind man, so when I do this, I don't see shit. Everything is being destroyed. Also, a friend of mine told me that this is actually yellow and I only see purple and gray, so I'm not sure. Anyway, so that's my only issue. And another issue would be the clunky leveling, because I was trying to level with the Absolution itself. It's not the best thing in the world, so yeah, that would be another thing to look out for. There is a variant that I actually added here, which is the default one. It's a better suited defensively. Let me actually get everything here. So this one has way more defenses. Where is Absolution? Hold on. No, not aspects of the spider. Where is it? Absolution of Inspiring. Yeah. This has a little bit less damage, 11 million instead of like the 20 million that we used to have, but it has an effective hit pool of 100,000. It has much better effective hit pool, but in my opinion, at least, this is not ideal for me because this is too expensive just to get more defenses. It's using Divine Flesh, which is basically using Zibaqua, I think. Yeah, Zibaqua to get Divine Flesh and getting as much chaos resistance as possible all over the place and doing all these sort of shenanigans. I've added this one here as a second option for you if you're looking for something way more defensive, but this is way more expensive than the way that I'm actually building the game. So without further ado, thank you everyone for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. If you please like this, share it with your friends, comment, subscribe also. Yeah, I'm new, so subscription will help, really. Yeah, leave a comment down below if you have any suggestions, if I missed anything, if you have any builds that you want me to try, just let me know. Thank you everyone and have a great day. Bye bye.